First of all, I want to say it's an honor and privilege to be here with men. I think men, for me, I've got a special place in my heart. I look at all of us here. We're broken and we're blessed. We're the quiet ones at home. Today, I want to just share with you all, I ask myself sometimes, what am I doing here? I'm a nobody. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not an athlete. I'm not a superstar. But what I do know, I'm a father, a husband, and a good friend. I feel that God called me out on a mission to share the journey of forgiveness. But today I'm going to take you back to my childhood, we haven't shared much in the past. My parents migrated from Lebanon, and as a kid, I grew up in Western Sydney, Housing Commission, and looking back, I was an angry kid. And then I ask myself now, why was I such an angry kid? Always fighting, always in trouble with the police. And it came to me that, as a young kid, when your parents migrate here, you're not fully accepted at home because you're an Aussie, and you're not fully accepted in society because you're Lebanese. So you're in limbo. At the age of 14, 15, I was a juvenile, had lots of counts of assault. I was hanging around the wrong people. Show me your friends and I'll tell you your future. My friends, they were doing armed robs, stealing cars, beating up people. That was the standard. Drinking and the usual stuff that you do. And it came to me, I realized that I had an addictive nature. And I realized what I put it towards, I'd either be really good or really bad. So I put it towards martial arts. And I started doing kickboxing. If I stand here, I'll stand up here. I started doing kickboxing. I got hooked. I loved it. I loved fighting. I won 2 Australian titles, an East Coast title. I went to Thailand, I trained there. And back in the late 90s, it was different till now, Thailand. You had to live with the Thais, and in the camp there was dog fighting and there was cockfighting and all different types of things. There was 12 of us that went, and probably only 4 or 5 survived the whole trip, and I was one of them. I learnt a lot about martial arts, and I put it towards my business. I was doing formwork as a kid, and I always wanted to pursue a goal to have a formwork company one day. Everything I learned in martial arts, I put it towards starting a business. I learned that you've got to love the grind more than the glory. Getting in the trenches and working hard. So I did. I worked my butt off and I built a business. In a few years, I had a reputable formwork company with a few hundred workers. I had to find a partner to share this with. And I met my wife, Layla, my rock. I always say to men, younger men, I say the biggest decision you make in your life is who you marry. I've seen men turn into mice, and I've seen mice turn into men just by that one decision. And make sure she loves God more than she loves you. Because in your darkest hour, she'll stand like that. Yeah. We met in Lebanon. My mum goes to me, Danny, why would you marry a girl from Lebanon? Why don't you marry someone from Australia? I remember telling her, Mum, and growing up on the streets, I was very selective on who I hung out with and who I picked in my life. I said, Mum, she's the type of girl, in my darkest hour, she wouldn't leave my side. And my mum said, you know what? You marry her, you're going to marry the family. And she was right. We got married, we moved to Australia. She moved to Australia with me. And I was able to sponsor through my business. So I sponsored her mum and dad and her 2 little sisters. They came across. Then I sponsored her brother, his wife, and their kids. Then I sponsored her sister, her husband, and her kids. You know what my Aussie mates would say? Mate, you didn't sponsor the goat in the village, he's still waiting for you. Things were great. Business was moving. Later on, I had 6 kids under the age of 9. So life was busy. You know, I used to always say to myself, life begins, every day I used to say, my day begins when I walk in the door. Because you know why? For most men, we come home to rest. But if you're going to come home to rest and you've got little kids, you're setting yourself up to fail. So I used to just come home, I used to sit in the car, say, Lord, I'm starting my day as of now. And I'd walk in with that mindset. And it would change the whole environment at home. Because if you're coming home to rest and you go through it, you end up stressing out. Things were great. My oldest boy, Anthony, is 13. My youngest boy, Michael, is 3. We had 3 boys and 3 girls. God is great. And it was the Australia Day of 2020. It was a beautiful summer. I don't know if you remember 2020, there was a drought. Bushfires had started in September. It was really hot. I was with my son and we were at the beach at the Central Coast. He was going into year 8 and I was concerned as a dad. Who's he going to hang out with? What's he going to get up to? Yeah. And I remember telling him, come for a walk, and I was walking along the beach. And I thought, man, if this guy takes after his dad, oh, God help me. So I wanted to give him some advice. And I said to him, son, the choices you make daily determine the man you become. He goes, Dad, what do you mean? I said, we've got an uncle, relative that's grown up with me. I said, look at you and me and your uncle. When we were younger, I chose to get up Saturday morning and not go out Friday night and go to work. He chose to party with his mates. I chose to say no to drugs. He chose to say yes. I chose to commit to your mum. He chose to have lots of girlfriends. I chose to work with a team. He chose to join a bikie club. He spent half his life in jail, and I spent half my life raising your kids. I said, but it wasn't a light switch that was on and off. It was choices made. Just daily choices. Sometimes we look at ourselves today. What were the choices we made 5 years ago to end up here today, whether it be positive or negative? And what choices are you making today for your future self? The 1st of February has come, 2020. Friends, that's the day my life changed forever. It was the afternoon, and my daughter Angelina, the second oldest, she was at a birthday party. And my wife said, who's going to pick her up? I said, I'll pick her up. I jumped in the car, went to pick her up. Anyway, I get to this pool party at the pools, and I see her playing with these little kids, feeding them and doing these things, and her friends were playing elsewhere. I walk in and the mother and father go, oh, God bless that girl. She's such a special girl. She's been looking after them, babysitting them, and doing everything right. She didn't even play with her friends. I said, oh, okay, thank you. Anyway, we jump in the car, and I go, Angelina, what happened? Why aren't you hanging out with your friends? What did you do? She goes, I've done nothing, Dad. They've been bullying me, and they pushed me out of the group. I said, what did you do? She goes, I've done nothing. I said, listen, if it was 98% them and 2% you, what was the 2%? She said, well, I was a bit angry. I go, oh, that's good. And I reacted. I go, there you go. Yep, what else? And she started sharing a little bit what she did. And as I was driving home, I remember pulling over. I said, honey, give me your hands. I want to pray with you. She goes, what? I said, honey, I want to pray that this year, God gives you genuine friends. We said a prayer. She had a tear in her eye. She gave me a kiss and a hug. She goes, Dad, I love you. Thank you. And that night, the Lord answered my prayer. She entered eternal life, and now she's with her genuine friends. So that afternoon, we had a birthday party. My wife and I were getting dressed. And I told the kids to go for a walk and get some ice cream. They went for a walk, and then I got a phone call that no father should ever get. Come now, something's happened. I jump in the car, and I'm thinking about my Anthony and his cousin Shabil. What have they done? What have they done? What have they done? A drunk and drug driver mounted the curb and ran over 7 children. 4 died instantly. Anthony, Angelina, Sienna, and their beautiful cousin Veronique, dead. I get to the scene. I jump out of the car. I remember walking, and there was a man in front of me. He was my neighbor. He looked at me, and he said, Danny, thank God you're here. We need to find the parents of these children. I looked at him, I go, these are my kids. He was taken back. Layla comes. She looks around, she gets on her knees and starts praying. And I remember going from kid to kid. Which child do you go to first? That was the hard part as a dad. And then I looked up. I remember saying, Lord God, this is bigger than me. I surrender it to you. That moment, looking back, I learned there's 2 types of courage for a man. The first one's easy. We've all done it before, where we put our armor on and we fight the good fight. Friends, that's an easy one. The second one's harder. The second one is when you know you can't do nothing from what's happened, and you have to surrender. Otherwise, it'll get worse. Have you all heard the saying that hell is a bottomless pit? You know what that means? It means no matter how bad life gets, you can always make it worse for yourself. I had to surrender that one moment. Ambulance came, police came, my wife, and I had my other daughter, Liana. She saw everything. She was there. I grabbed her and Layla, and I said, get in the ambulance and go to the hospital now. They jump in the ambulance. I said, Layla, I'll be there soon. She jumps in the ambulance, and as more police came, they just pushed us out, and it became a crime scene. And then I see from distance, covering each body, they were gone. My kids entered eternal life. This is a news clip. I don't know if you can press play, if it's loud enough. Maybe you can. I can share that.
We begin tonight with an extremely difficult story to bring you. These are the beautiful faces of 4 children, siblings, 13-year-old Anthony, 12-year-old Angelina, 9-year-old Sienna, and their relative, 11-year-old Veronique. They were mowed down by an allegedly drunk, speeding driver just around the corner from home at Oatlands in Sydney's northwest. A grieving father telling us today the tragedy has left him numb.
The unbearable pain of a father grieving 3 of his 6 children. Danny Abdallah's sense of loss only equalled by love.
I was always say full-time father, part-time worker. They were my priority. And now they're gone.
Danny and his wife Layla want you to see their beautiful faces.
Anthony's 13, very handsome boy. He loved basketball. Actually, he woke up that morning and said, we're going to play this game for Kobe. Angelina, she was my MLH, my little helper. Anything I needed, she had my back. And Sienna, She was my little diva, little actress. They've gone to a better place.
The fourth victim, their relative Veronique Saker, described by her family as a vibrant 11-year-old, full of life, love, and with a maturity well beyond her young years. The children were among a group of 7 walking and riding bikes with a babysitter at Oatlands just before 8 last night. The man behind the wheel of this blue 4-wheel drive had allegedly run a red light before he was captured on camera speeding down Bettington Road. Moments later, the vehicle was seen mounting the curb and ploughing into the children on the footpath.
When the first crews arrived on scene, they were confronted with carnage. Very, very difficult scene with obviously a lot of chaos.
Anthony, Angelina, Sienna and Veronique were killed. 3 other children were taken to hospital, including a boy in a critical condition.
In my time in policing, this is one of the most tragic, involving young children dying in very tragic circumstances.
Police say the 29-year-old driver is Samuel Davidson. He allegedly returned a blood alcohol reading of 0.150, 3 times the legal limit. So far, Davidson has refused to be interviewed. He was charged with 20 offences in total, including 4 counts of manslaughter, high-range drink driving, dangerous driving occasioning grievous bodily harm, and running a red light. He'll stay behind bars until his next court appearance in April. Oatlands is a community in mourning and in shock. The Abdallah children's mother Layla praying at the site where they were taken. Flowers, rosary beads, teddy bears and cards now adorn the path where an adventure ended under the most horrific of circumstances.
Please, drivers, be careful. These kids were just walking innocently, enjoying each other's company. And this morning I woke up, I've lost 3 kids.
Peter, the outpouring for these 4 children has been overwhelming. There has been a line to pay tribute from dawn and now till dusk. The boy critically injured, his condition has slightly improved in hospital. He's now listed as serious but stable. The 2 other little girls will be physically okay. They suffered a few cuts and bruises.
When I saw, I knew they were gone. I jumped in a car and went straight to the ambulance, straight to the hospital. My wife and my daughter were there in emergency. And then I remember Liana coming up to me, my daughter. Dad, where's Anthony, Angelina and Sienna? I said to him, I didn't know what to say. I said, they're in the room next door. Are they okay? I said, yes, they're okay. She said, oh, good. Anyway, 10 minutes later, she asked again, Dad, where's Anthony, Angelina and Sienna? I said, they're next door. As I was walking, there was a nurse. She came up to me. She goes, excuse me, sir, sorry to be rude, but please don't lie to your daughter. If you're going to lie to her, she's not going to trust you. Friends, I don't know what was harder. I'm a dad. I protect my kids. If my daughter needs a hand, I cut my hand off. I know there was a point where Liana accidentally put Denker up on her face. You know what I did? I put the same Denker up on my face so I could feel her pain. You know, men, we have a kamikaze love. How am I going to tell her this? And I remember telling her this. Liana, Anthony, Angelina, Sienna have gone to be with the Lord. That was the hardest thing as a man to share with your daughter. And she said each name and started crying. But you know what she said to me? She goes, Dad, I don't want to be the oldest. And I don't want no one to pity me. I was proud of her at the time. 2 days later, Layla gets to the scene. She goes to each place where the kids land and gets on her knees and starts praying. Starts praying and starts praying. As she was walking away, the media stopped her. They said, tell me about your kids. She talks about Anthony, how much she loved him, Angelina, and Sienna, and who they were in her life. Anyway, one of the journalists somehow mentioned the driver's name or something like that. She said, I think in my heart I forgive him, but I want the courts to be fair. Our religion doesn't teach us to hate. We have forgiven him. Friends, that one act of forgiveness shook our community, our country, and the world.
Right now, I can't hate him. And I don't want to see him. I don't hate him. I think in my heart I forgive him, but I want the court to be fair, right? It's all about fairness. So I'm not going to hate him, because that's not who we are, and that's not what our religion tells us. I forgive him, but I want it to be fair.
We got messages from Iraq, New Zealand, San Francisco, Venezuela, London, Lebanon. People were shocked on how she forgave the driver within 48 hours. Layla and I sat down and she said, Danny, I want to honor God. I said, me too. She goes, all right, we're all going to wear white at the funeral, not black. And I remember the funeral had come, and I'll never forget, I'm outside the front of my house, and I see 3 hearse driving in with 3 coffins. And I look and I walk in and I fall back on the stairs and I start crying. And I'm saying, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. Remember I said the biggest decision you make in your life is who you marry? They can make you or break you. I'll never forget, Layla walks down the stairs in a white dress. She goes, what are you doing? I said, Layla, I can't do this. She goes, get up. She goes, all we ever wanted to do was get our kids to heaven. And God answered our prayers. This is not a funeral. This is a wedding. I felt 7 foot tall. I stood next to her. And by the Holy Spirit, He lifted us and guided us through the funeral. Guys, I'm going to go deep because we're men. And I'm taking you on the true journey. And I remember at the funeral, we went to the burial. And somehow the Lord works in ways we never understand. Every time I was weak, she's strong. And every time she's weak, I'm strong. And it's been 5 years now. So anyway, we get to the burial. And the 3 hearse start coming. Now Layla becomes weak in the knees. She starts screaming, send them home, I don't want to bury them, they're my kids. And she starts crying. She starts hitting my brother and everyone holding it. And I'll never forget, there was an undertaker there, and there was a truck, and there was the hole. We get the first coffin, and my mum and everyone's screaming and crying, and it drops. And I can share with you this because you're fellow Christians. And then I hear a voice, I hear my son Anthony's voice. Dad, bury me, I'm not there. I was in my suit, and I grabbed the undertaker and I took the shovel off him, and I started shoveling, digging, and burying my son. And once that happened, everyone went quiet. You could hear a pin drop. And Layla was saying, please God, give me a sign that these kids are with you. And then my father-in-law came up and said, have you ever added the kids' ages together? Angelina was 12, Sienna was 8, and Anthony was 13, 33. Christ died at 33, and there was 3 crosses in front of us. When I had the shovel and it was quiet, I said, guys, stop looking down and start looking up. Our kids are in heaven. They're not here. These are vessels. Yeah. The funeral came and went. And I remember sitting down after the funeral. We got invited to Parliament House. They'd done a new law called the 4 Angels Law in honor of the 4 kids. That law is whoever gets done for alcohol, you're allowed to drug test them now. And if you get done for both of them, it's like a quadruple charge. We went and saw the Premier and we said, look, in honor of these kids, can we have a day called I Forgive Day on the 1st of February every year on the anniversary of the kids? Without any hesitation, Gladys Berejiklian at the time said we would be honoured. And the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, endorsed it straight away. And that's when I Forgive was born. You know, looking back, Layla and I forgave because we were obedient. But now I understand the science behind it. Forgiveness is for the forgiver, not just for the forgiven, as you can see. It's a gift you give yourself and your children. It's not something that it's a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of strength. Forgiveness isn't the easy road, forgiveness is the hard road. Forgiveness is a choice, not a feeling. Anger is a feeling, revenge is a feeling. Forgiveness is a discipline. And most of us men, we're all called out to be disciplined. We always hold strong. Anyway, a week after the funeral, I told Layla, I want to meet the driver. I want to meet this man that took my children. She goes, why? I said, Layla, this person, I need to see him. You know why? Because the people that impact your life the most, first it's your parents that mold you to the person you become. Then it's your siblings, then it's your partner, and then it's your children. They are the people that have molded you to the person you've become today. I said, Layla, unfortunately, this person is in the same arena as those. He's changed my life forever. So I went to restorative justice and said, listen, I want to meet the man that took my children. They said to me, just wait till after the sentencing. He got sentenced. I remember that day, we were at court. I didn't want to go to court. We didn't go to court the whole time, only at the sentencing, because I said, Layla, I don't want to be part of a circus. We've forgiven him, we move forward. Because justice is never for the victim. Justice is for the community. Ultimate justice for me is to get my kids back, and that's not going to happen. So we got there, we said whether he got a day or a death sentence, we've forgiven him. Our justice is to have our kids back, and it's not going to happen. I went back to restorative justice and said to them, I want to see the man. They said to me, wait, he's got 3 months to lodge an appeal. Okay, if he doesn't lodge an appeal, we can make it happen. On the eve of the 3rd month, he lodged an appeal. I let it go. At the time, I spoke to Layla, I said, Layla, we need to have more kids. She goes, what do you mean? I said, Layla, we need more kids. I was a father and a husband thinking, how can I get my family from the valley of grief and pain to the high ground? Big decisions. She said, okay, let's do it. She fell pregnant. We grabbed all the family. And I thought, yes. Story of Job. The Lord giveth, the Lord taketh, blessed be his name. We grabbed all the family, we popped champagne, we all got emotional, we started crying, and we were so happy. And 2 weeks later, she had a miscarriage. It was like a baseball bat across my head, whack. We were taken back to the funeral. Next time I said, Layla, we're still not going to give up. We need to have more kids. So she fell pregnant again, and this time, for 4 months, not 3 months, we didn't say a word to no one. And then God blessed us with a baby girl. Her name is Selena. Selena's name is in honor of her 2 sisters, Sienna and Angelina. If you put those 2 names together, it's Selena. We were blessed. The new normal came back. I started working again. What happened? I've got my parish priest, Father Robert. He feeds the homeless. His mission is to feed the homeless around the Parramatta district. Anyway, one of the homeless men ended up in jail. He rings him, he goes, Father, I have a Lebanese man that wants to speak to a Lebanese priest. He goes, yeah, give him my number. He goes, all right. The man rings my priest. parish priest, this is a few years after the tragedy. He goes, Father, I'm the cellmate of the driver that killed the Abdallah children and Veronique. He goes, oh, well, I'm their parish priest. Of all the priests, this guy speaks to him. You know what coincidence is? It's God remaining anonymous. He asks, tell me, how's the driver? His name's Samuel. He goes, he's good. He's given his heart to the Lord. He's become a Christian. He reads his Bible every day, and he prays and he prays and he prays. Father Robert rings me. He says, Danny, he tells me the whole thing. I said, Yallah, as they say in Arabic, I want to meet him. I go to restorative justice. They said, you know what, you're ready to meet him. They poked at me. They started sticking tough questions. Why would you forgive him? He doesn't deserve your forgiveness. You've lightened his sentence because you forgave him. They wanted to see if I would trigger, and I didn't, by God's grace. Yeah. So anyway, I'm driving to Cessnock Jail. I took my parish priest with me. We're getting there. Now, the devil starts doubting me. What are you doing? Why are you going? What's happening? Really? I'm getting there now. I get to Cessnock Jail. Restorative justice are there to meet me. They said, Danny, we found a place where you can sit together. It's at the chapel in prison. I get there. They said to me, wait in the room. His chaplain walks in, and I start poking at the chaplain. I said, come on, man. Really? Has he really become a Christian? Is it genuine, or is he faking it? He goes, listen, just meet him, and you make your own decision. Restorative justice is there. My priest, they said, mate, he's there. He's in the chapel. They all get up. I said, listen, guys, I'm sorry. I need to go in my home. It's taken me 3 years, and I don't want to go in with anyone. I go to walk in, and as I walk in, he gets on his knees and starts crying. I'm sorry I killed your kids. And he starts crying and crying. I pick him up. I look at him, and I remember what I said to him. I said, God gives everyone the perfect cross. In God's eyes, your cross is perfect, and in his eyes, my cross is perfect. And we just have to carry it. We started talking. What happened that night, he doesn't remember. We spoke, my parish priest came in, and I asked him, what made you become a Christian? Why? I didn't expect that. He said to me, because I want what you have. He goes, your one act of forgiveness saved my life. Everyone in jail wanted to kill him because of what he did to my kids. But whenever I knew that you forgave me, I undeservedly was set free. We spoke at length about other things. And as I was leaving, I was a mess. I was crying. I was with Father Robert and my friend. I go, Father, I need to say something, but I don't know how to say it. He goes, say it. I said, man, I saw God's face shine on this man. I saw a glow in his face. He goes, yeah, me too. I go, but how can I say that about the person that did that to my children? He goes, God makes every man perfectly in his image. It's just our sin that distorts it. I got back. We've become friends now. My kids pray for him. They speak to him on the phone. I speak to his parents. He speaks to me. You'll probably see in 2 weeks. It's the first time in Australian history that they let mainstream media go into maximum security. They invited him and me with Michael Usher and interviewed both of us about the power of forgiveness. It's on not this Sunday, next Sunday, so keep an eye out. You guys might think, why would you forgive? How would you forgive? Let me tell you, forgiveness is a gift you give yourself and your kids and your family, because kids do what you do, not what you say.
Yeah.
I had a friend that came to me and said, Danny, my kids don't talk to each other. I said, tell me about your relationship with your brother. He goes, I haven't spoken to him in 10 years. I go, monkey see, monkey do. Our kids are at home with their popcorn watching, how do I conduct myself in this situation? And they watch us do it. And how do I conduct myself in that situation? And they watch us do it. So friends, please, be wary, especially us men. I want to share with you guys about the choices we made daily 5 years ago, my wife and I. And I call this the fruits of forgiveness. I got a hobby, a farm out in Bigger. I was with my kids watching a movie. I've got an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old, Alex and Michael. We were sitting down watching a Santa movie. And what happened, I said to him, if you could wish for something, what would it be? One of my boys wanted a quad, the other one wanted an Xbox. I want this toy, I want that toy, I want this. And they were wishing for toys. And I looked at my wife later, and she looked at me, she goes, what do you think? And I knew what she meant. I wish I could get my kids back. I made her a cup of tea. I go, come outside, come sit on the balcony. I go, Layla, it's working. She goes, what's working? I said, you and I have to carry this cross, this pain, till we breathe our last breath. I go, but because we were able to forgive 5 years ago, our kids can dare to dream again. They could wish, and if you meet them, they're normal kids. They dream, they have their goals. We choose to celebrate life and not complain. My best mate from school one day said to me, Danny, you've become the new measuring stick of problems. People measure up and they say, what am I complaining about? If this guy can smile, who am I to complain? And I didn't look at it that way. But you know what? You learn about life. Life is about perspective. It's the way you see things. It's the way you look at things. You know, at the time, I was visiting my doctor. He's an older man than me. And he was from my mum's village in Lebanon. He said to me, Daddy, my grandmother had 16 children and only 8 survived. Friends, you know what I thought, wow, that was a few generations ago. Who am I to complain? Those people, mums would lose their children more common, but they still got up, they still found purpose, and they still found life, and they still had their faith. That's perspective. I could whinge about my kids and whinge and whinge and whinge. I could look at it that way. And then it came to me about those migrants in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, where there was a man in Lebanon, in a village, living a poor life, thinking if only I could get my son to Australia. He would take his life savings. He would drive to the port. He would take his son. He'd put him on a boat. He'd send him here, knowing that he'll never ever see him again. That's sacrificial love. I'd like to think my kids are overseas and I'm going to see them again. Because I don't say 5 years ago this happened. I say 5 years sooner, I'll see them again. They're in the mystical body of Christ. My son Anthony, my oldest boy, he came and appeared to my brother's father-in-law in his dream. He said, Beniki at the time said, Anthony, what's wrong? He goes, I'm upset. He goes, why are you upset? He goes, tell my dad to stop crying. We don't want to come back. We're happy here. After that day, I've had to put on a brave face. I've had to show my kids that life is worth living. We're all men here. We go through a lot. I'm grieving and I'm grateful. I'm broken and I'm blessed. Thank you all for listening to me today. Thank you.